You know what Putin didn't do under Trump's first term? Invade Ukraine. You know what he did under Biden and Obama? Invade Ukraine.
You understand that in Trump's first term, there were literally active fights happening in Ukraine with Russian troops. That was literally happening in the Donbass under Trump the entire time. Nothing changed.
There's conflict going on over there, but that wasn't a war. That wasn't an invasion.
It literally was an invasion. They had, like, Donetsk and Luhansk have been invaded. There's been a war there for like since 2014 that Russia has been funding and sending troops into for. Yes.
In this video, Destiny shreds MAGA Goon Misfit Patriot using facts and logic. So this debate kicks off with Misfit Patriot just tossing out the classic MAGA talking point, that Putin didn't invade Ukraine under Trump, so clearly Trump must have been some kind of peacemaking mastermind, right? But Destiny immediately rips that idea apart. He doesn't just push back, he lays down the actual timeline, explaining that yeah, Russian troops were already fighting and invading Ukrainian territory during Trump's term. Misfit tries to brush that off like it wasn't a real war, but Destiny just forces that fact into the spotlight. It's not just a correction, it's a full-on dismantling of revisionist MAGA spin. So make sure to watch to the end to see how Destiny shreds this MAGA Goon Misfit Patriot using facts and logic.
Okay. All right. Well, let's
notice how when Donald Trump is president now, notice how he hasn't done anything to stop the fighting, despite him saying he'd end the war on day one.
Okay,
you recognize that's like a failure, right? That he said he'd end it on day one, and he hasn't gotten any closer to ending it, right? In 9 months.
I think most people took that as hyperbole, and
hyperbole for what? So from day one to day infinity? Why would you
guys? Did you guys really think that on January 21st the war was going to be over?
Why would Donald Trump lie?
It's not a lie. It's called hyperbole. It's just inflate. It's what Donald Trump does this.
Okay, what was he Yes, he lies a lot. I agree.
Are you going to take that literally? Were you really under the notion that Donald Trump was saying, "I'm going to come in on January 20th, and by January 21st, everybody in the world is going to stop fighting"? That's retarded, man. Like, don't.
Okay, wait. Then why was he not being hyperbolic when he was saying Putin wouldn't have started this war if I was president for another 4 years?
Well, because the evidence shows that Putin didn't start wars when he was in office. Putin does not want to go and start a war while Trump has all the cards, but he started a war because Biden was a weak, feckless leader, and Putin knew he could get away with it.
Okay, no one else in the world views Trump that way. Everybody knows that Trump is weak and feckless. That's why Putin has continued to bomb. That's why Trump,
the 77 million people that voted for him.
The rest of the world. Do you remember when Trump was truthing out how upset that he was that Putin continued to bomb Ukraine after every time they'd have a talk? Why do you think Trump was truthing that out?
Trump is tough on Putin, but he's also.
Wait. Do you acknowledge that he truthed out that he was crying that Putin was still attacking Ukraine after they'd had meetings?
Yeah, but this is what I don't understand, where it's like Trump is a Putin puppet, but he's also critical and tough on Putin.
He's not tough. He's not tough
People
on
Putin. Don't really argue that anymore. That was like a.
Well, hold on. How has he been tough on Putin?
He just gave, I don't know, I think we're almost at the deadline. He gave Putin 10 days or something like that to come to the table and make a deal. They're sitting down right now.
How many times has he done this already? Like 5 or 10 times come to the table?
Do you really think that Biden how many years did this war go on under Joe Biden and he didn't end it? So, I mean, are you saying that wars can just end like if the American president says so?
That's what Donald Trump said, didn't he?
So Misfit pulls the classic dodge here, trying to play defense for Trump's bogus on the war on day one promise by calling it hyperbole. Like, come on dude, you can't just hype up your candidate as a foreign policy genius and then act shocked when people take his word seriously. Destiny just calmly asks the obvious. If you're not supposed to take that literally, then what are you supposed to take seriously from Trump? And Misfit has no answer. He just spirals into this rambling defense about Trump giving Putin 10 days to make a deal. Bro, what does that even mean? And Destiny just totally corners him when he flips the argument. If Trump gets credit for peace under his term, why doesn't he get blamed now when he's supposedly in power again and nothing's changed? Misfit just shrugs it off like everyone knew it was exaggerated. But nah, when you're running on day one peace as a campaign promise, that's not just puffery. That's a promise, and right now, Trump's over 6 months into his second term with no Ukraine or Israel peace deals to show for it. Just more excuses and diplomatic theater.
No, but I'm saying, like, are you making that argument?
No, I would
Right?
never be
Like,
as stupid to make that argument. But Donald Trump
okay.
did make that argument, which is why I'm saying it's a failure that he didn't end it. He said he would end Israel-Palestine on day one. He said he would end Ukraine-Russia on day one. He's no closer to ending either one.
So he's negotiated in the conflicts of Azerbaijan and Armenia, though that war ended, right?
Yeah, wars start and end. There was like a mini genocide there. I don't know how that's a pro for him.
Again, right? We don't give Trump credit when he does negotiate a war, but we criticize him that he can't end all wars with a phone call, right? It's like, I mean,
he's the one who said he was going to end it on day one. He didn't. That's a failure.
Again, if you are taking that literally,
I do take my president literally and seriously. Yes, I think you should.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the word of the U.S. president means nothing. Yeah.
So you literally thought that he was saying, "I'm going to end the war on day one."
Yes, that's what he said, and that is what he meant. He said it over and over and over again. Yeah.
I think you're a simpleton if you believe that.
Okay.
Right. Like,
maybe President Trump shouldn't make those promises then.
I think everyone on the right understood that he meant very quickly.
Oh, right? Very quickly? What? So if it's not over by midterms, would you acknowledge that he's failed there? What does very quickly mean?
I think that if it's not over by the midterms, I will agree with you. That is a failure. He should be able to end it by then. But you know what? It's like this war is very profitable for both sides, and Putin doesn't give a shit about his citizens. He is throwing dead bodies at this thing. Zelensky wants this war to continue.
I don't think either side is profiting from this war. No, I think it's very detrimental to both times.
The military-industrial complex gets rich and lines the pockets of both sides, and don't even.
The military-industrial complex is a small part of the economy, depending upon which countries you're talking about. I don't think you think that Ukraine is better off economically than they were before the war.
I'm talking about corruption, right? There is an incentive for war. It is why they happen. A lot, except for the one in Israel, which is a spiritual war, which is like a holy war. Most wars, they continue this long because somebody's making money. And if you can't acknowledge
the wars haven't even been going on for that long. If you're going by the invasion point as a starting point, it's been a few years.
Okay, so you're agreeing that 6 months is not that long of a time to try and end a war.
I'm not the one who claimed I would end it on day one.
Again, hyperbole, but okay.
Right, I feel like
let's move on.
I want to get back to guys. I want to get back to economics because I feel like that hasn't been fleshed out. So Misfit, you did make a point that inflation went a bit down in the last 6 months, which is true.
Yeah.
Also, jobs did go down. So in December, there was 250K jobs created. It's still in July, I believe it was 70K. So you both have like a little bit of I don't know, different metrics. So I want to see you guys discuss that.
Let's talk about jobs, okay? And thank you for helping us move on from that because it was getting ridiculous. The U.S. has gained 10,000 manufacturing jobs in Trump's first full month in office, right? After losing an average of 9,000 manufacturing jobs per month in the final year of the Biden administration. The creation of 671,000 new jobs, which is attributed to extending the TCJA and making sure that all those jobs weren't going to be lost. I'm looking through my little notes here, but I think that with those two alone. Right. Would you say that Trump has successfully created more jobs in the first 6 months than Biden? I guess because that's the comparison.
Almost certainly not, but that's not really a fair comparison for you. You're always going to lose there because coming out of the
COVID.
Yeah. So that's always so Biden's going to slaughter Trump on any job related stuff. But when it comes to manufacturing,
it wouldn't be attributed to Biden.
Okay. Well, yeah, so I wouldn't do that. But wait, you recognize I'm being fair there, right? Because I'm saying that inflation was high as a result of COVID. So like, I'm not going to say that that's Biden's fault, but I would also say like massive growths in jobs after the recovery. I'm not going to say like, oh my God, he created tens of millions of jobs. That's also like recovery from the recession. So I'm being fair on both sides of that, right? I'm not just trying to claim victory on one and not the other, like you just tried to do by saying that we can't give him credit for the job stuff, but we can blame him for the inflation, right?
Would you say creating 671,000 new jobs through a mixture of tariffs, GDP, and the TCJA is a success or a failure?
I don't think that any of those three things create more jobs in the United States. So
the economic impact from the extensions, the tariffs, and the numbers are real. So the 671,000 new jobs that have been created, which most economists are contributing to those three factors, right?
So Misfit tries to pivot out of that foreign policy disaster by rattling off job numbers like he's reading the back of a cereal box. He brings up the stat about 671,000 new jobs supposedly created under Trump through tariffs, GDP growth, and the TCGA extension. And Destiny just immediately smacks that down with some much needed context. Like, bro, what are we even measuring here? You can't just rip numbers from thin air and ignore the COVID economic collapse that skewed everything up. And Destiny's response is actually pretty fair. He straight up says he won't credit Biden for job booms that were just part of the recovery. But he also won't let Misfit pretend Trump is some kind of job wizard either. Meanwhile, Misfit just keeps acting like tariffs magically boost employment, when in reality, those are just taxes on imports that hit manufacturers and, yes, often trickle down to customers.
How do tariffs create jobs? Can you explain that to me?
Well, they've brought in about $100 billion in revenue. So
that's just a tax on American manufacturers. Yeah, I understand that.
It's not a tax. There is no a tariff is not a tax.
Tariff is an import tax, right?
It's not a tax on the American, right? An American doesn't pay a tariff.
Who pays a tariff?
You're saying that it trickles down to the American.
No, I'm not saying it trickles down. I'm saying literally, it's an import tax. That's a tariff. What's the difference between a tariff and an import tax?
Hold on. You're saying that the American citizen gets a tariff tax, right? Like it says tariff tax, or are you saying that?
Yeah, like if you've ever imported something before, it's on the bill as an import tax. It's literally legitimately what it is. Yes,
I'm talking about consumers.
Well, a consumer might not necessarily see import tax without shipping things in, but it'll be the manufacturer. It'll be the American manufacturer that sees it. Yeah.
American manufacturing companies would have to pay a tariff. Yes, I agree there. So we were talking about two different things. On the average American, though, we're not paying the tariffs. So we're not paying taxes on those. But a lot of people make this false claim, like, oh, it's a tax that's rolled over onto the consumer. That's what I thought you were referring to.
Well, I mean, American manufacturers are still Americans, right?
Yes, the manufacturing companies, if they want to continue to do business, but they also don't have to pay the taxes if they just don't do business there. They can do business other places.
That's fine, but you said that. I'm just saying that when we say that we've made $100 billion in tariff or whatever, that's just a tax increase on local businesses. That's all that is.
Again, I'm just quoting from which source is this? I believe this is from. I think this is from The Hill, I believe.
Are you talking about Trump's first or second term, just to clarify?
First term. The TCJA, I think this is from The Hill. The TCJA extension and tariffs contribute to reported economic growth. Then they cite 3% GDP, 671,000 jobs through tariffs. Though they do say tariffs do risk higher consumer prices. So that's why I was getting confused, because I was conflating what you were saying with what my notes are saying.
So the Trump tax cuts might lead to some more economic activity. You'd expect it to, right? It's a ton of deficit spending by the government. So that's, of course, going to lead to greater economic activity. But the tariffs are a tax on imports. So that's just money that American citizens are paying to the government.
Yeah, only if they continue to do business with people that are ripping off America. They can also not pay that tax.
They could, but they paid $100 billion of it, according to you. Well, then that's an import tax. Yes,
but they're choosing to pay that tax.
That's fine. Sure, that's great that they're choosing. I'm just saying it is a tax. It's an import tax. Yes.
Yeah. So it's not like when the federal government forces you to pay taxes on something, like they just raise your taxes, right? It's like that's where I think that there's a lot of confusion. Maybe not with you and me, with a lot of people.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? They're choosing. I mean, you could just choose to work less. You wouldn't have to pay so much in income taxes. No.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah. No. It's definitely going to hurt companies that want to do business with countries that are taking advantage of us.
Well, with any countries that we import anything from, right?
If those countries are, like China and other countries who let's use the
it's every country around the world, isn't it? Right now we have global tariffs.
Countries who are not paying their fair share, right, are being punished.
That doesn't make any paying their fair share for what? For exporting stuff to us?
Yeah, I mean, well, they've been taking advantage of us and charging us these ridiculous tariffs.
They haven't been charging us tariffs. That's not true. That's not where any of our tariffs came from.
all Trump has done with his tariff plan is go reciprocal. And
he hasn't though, but that's just a total lie, right?
Most of it's not even reciprocal.
How does that make that doesn't make sense? Like in the UK, there are countries we had trade like surpluses with, and we still put tariffs on them. So how do you explain that as being a reciprocal tariff?
He did the same thing to Israel too, because he's just going across the board.
So across the board, so they're not reciprocal. These are just none of these tariffs are reciprocal, right?
The tariffs which are estimated to have brought in.
Hold on, wait. Let's see if we can agree on this one point. None of these tariffs are reciprocal, right? You can choose a single country if you want. We can look it up. There's none of these countries had tariffs on us that were reciprocating what we are putting on them now. None of these, not a single one was.
I would have to. I mean, he's got 30 to 54% on China, Canada 35%, Mexico 25%, and the EU 15%. And between those four, we're generating 90 to 150 billion dollars in revenue.
And import taxes, yes, yeah.
So,
but Mexico didn't have tariffs on us, right? We don't have reciprocal tariffs on them. We just put tariffs on them. They didn't have tariffs on us before, right?
So this, I actually said when I was making that statement, they're not really reciprocal.
Oh, okay. They're just tariffs.
I literally said, I go, he's doing reciprocal, which are not reciprocal. I said it before you interrupted.
So yeah, after all that fumbling and dodging, Misfit just ends up admitting the whole reciprocal tariff claim was nonsense, literally conceding they weren't reciprocal at all. Destiny just walks him into that realization without even breaking a sweat here. It's honestly wild how Misfit just starts by pretending tariffs aren't taxes, then pivots to, well, they chose to pay them, like that's not a defense. Then pivots to, well, they chose to pay them, like that's not a defense, that's just spinning circles. Misfit's only way out was to admit mid-debate that his entire argument didn't make sense, which just proves how deep the bias runs when you'd rather defend nonsense than admit Trump fumbled. And speaking of bias,
are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story, so you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.